All right, so bailout foul calls. What I like to basically is usually on a shooting foul. What I like to refer to as a bailout call, which is basically when the computer is going for a shot, usually under the basket, and you put great defense on them, right? And the algorithm may have meant for them to score on that play, but your defense was thorough enough to stop them. So what the game would do is it would actually get them a foul call in order to put them at the line anyway. So now they still get the opportunity to get the bucket. Now right here, I'm on offense right here. Now I want to just show this just to compare the two different uh, uh, defensive plays in the paint and how on one defensive play there was a foul call, but on the other one there was no foul call, right? And this one is clearly a bit more flagrant. Now watch it. All right, that's a bit more extreme than what I'm about to show you on the other end of the court, right? That's like prison ball. So when you look at it, uh, there's contact here. You know, he reaches up, swipe me across the side, put an arm through me, put his hand through me, comes out on the other side. There's some forearm and hand contact across my torso. There's a whack across the forearm. Hold on. Really, he made no contact. You know, it was just all body contact. Arms, uh, arms, hands, all kind of shit, right? Nah, they didn't call a foul on that one. Now let's go back and play. And let's see the bailout call that they gave computer. Here's the bailout call. Shooting his free throws. Now, this happens, you know, I jumped because I figured he would have tried to shoot it. And he makes his way to the basket, goes for the spin move, and he goes for this right here. Now, this was defended. This was guarded. My computer actually got on this. And there's some contact there, right? Clearly, there's some contact there. But he misses it. Now, is that a foul or not? You could argue, but they called it. But now what I'm saying, one, it's a bailout because for me, that was just great defense. He wasn't going to make it. That was their way of actually, you know, putting them on the line because the defense was too good. So, you know, they give him the bucket anyways. But now, major issue is that if this is a foul, then what the hell was that on the other side of the court? This lets you know that the algorithm is selective on when it's going to call a foul or not. Because many plays, you can argue that most of the time there's a defensive play in the paint on a shot contest. You could argue that there's some contact there enough to call a foul on pretty much damn near every play that happens that way, right? Especially if there's someone already waiting down there. All right, so why don't they just call a foul every single time, right? Because it's one, everybody will foul out, obviously, and two, it's selective on when it calls the foul. It has, like I mentioned in 2K21, I did videos on it where I talked about scheduled fouls and scheduled turnovers, right? Where let's say if you're in the first quarter, you get one foul. You know, if you're playing my GM, and you do that in the first quarter, you get a second foul, they're gonna take you out. So what I would do in my GM, I would save and exit so that I could erase, you know, that foul, so I don't wind up getting put out. And what I figured out is that if you do that, sometimes on that and you come back into that game on that same exact play, or maybe a play or two later, you would get another foul call. But usually on that same exact play, when you reboot the game, when you restart it up, and you know, because the checkpoint is the last time the ball was checked in, or the last inbound, right? And what I noticed is that you would get another foul or another turnover immediately. And this could happen if you continue to save and exit. One time, this happened to me about 8 times in one quarter. Now, how in the hell are you fouling someone or getting a turnover 8 or 9 times in the same quarter? What I figured out, which is basically common sense, is that the algorithm has scheduled turnovers and fouls for you already in play. So when you save and exit, it erases that foul or that turnover. You come back into the game, the algorithm is still registering that you do not have a foul or a turnover that you were scheduled or meant to have on your stat sheet, right? So it's registering that, and for the sake of trying to create balance, or by giving you a certain amount of fouls. Let's say you may go into a game, it may already be predetermined that you're going to get at least 3 turnovers, right? But if you're saving and exiting every time you get a turnover, you could wind up doing that shit about 10, 11 times in a game, right? Now it's unrealistic that you're going to get that many turnovers, but what it's trying to do is trying to keep you caught up with however many turnovers you're supposed to have. So it's saying you're supposed to have maybe 3, but you don't even have 1 yet. So it's going to constantly make you lose the ball over and over again. Whereas if you had never saved and exited that game and erased the turnover, you would have never gotten that many turnovers. You would have gotten that many turnovers. You would have slipped up and gotten 10 or more turnovers. All right. Hopefully, what I'm saying is making some kind of sense. But scheduled fouls, predetermined foul calls, and turnovers. Once again, 2K22 to me is better than 21. I didn't expect to say that, but 2K is 2K, right? 2K is 2K, same shit, same game. It is what it is. Anyway, peace.